Hi, and welcome to the third session of Learning JavaScript, offered to you by the Clifton Park Half Moon Library. Today we're going to try and cover the last few things with JavaScript. And we're going to start with conditional statements, which are if, else, else if, and switch. So if you look to the left of my screen, you can see my notepad session, and I'm on the file that we left off with the last class, which was the file was eventsfunction.html. So I'm going to do a file save as, and I will call this file conditional.html. And what we want to do is, let's see, very often when you write code, you want to perform different actions for different decisions. You can use conditional statements in your code to do this. In JavaScript, we have the following conditional statements. We have the if statement to specify a block of code to be executed if a condition statement is true. We use the else keyword to specify a block of code to be executed if the same condition is false. We use an else if condition to specify a new condition to test if the first condition is false. And we use a switch to specify many alternative blocks of code to be executed. So I will start with, I'm going to wipe out this code. And I will start with the if statement. So the if statement is written like this. So if, and then a condition. And let's say if the variable hour is less than 18, then I'm going to display a message. So I will do if. Now this is within the script tags. Whenever you want to add JavaScript into an HTML page, we put it in between two script tags, an opening and closing one. So if, let's say new date, parentheses, so I'm calling the date function that get hours, which is a method, is less than 18. And 18 is military time, so that would be, let's say 6 o'clock in the evening, 6 o'clock p.m. Let's see, I will close it out with a parenthesis, and I will have to add a curly bracket, an opening curly bracket, hit enter again, then underneath the I and F, I'll put a closing curly bracket. And then inside the if, I will indent, and I will call a document dot get element by ID, which we've been using all along. And then we'll keep the same ID name, demo. Parentheses dot inner HTML. HTML is capitalized in this case for inner HTML. I'll make my screen a little bit wider, and I'll have inner HTML equals, and then I'll put it down below. It's going to equal the words good day. And follow up with a semicolon. And now we need to have a paragraph tag. So I will do a opening and close tag. And inside the opening piece tag, let's do an ID equals demo, double quotes demo. All right, so now this paragraph tag has an ID attached to it with the ID name being demo. And then down in between the script tags, I've got JavaScript that I've written that says if, and then so the format is for conditionals in JavaScript is the word if, and then a parenthesis, and then whatever your condition is inside the parentheses. In our case, it's new space date parenthesis dot get hours parenthesis space less than space 18, and then close it with a parenthesis, and then do a space, and then opening curly bracket. Down below, you do a closing curly bracket, and then between indented in the if statement is the JavaScript code that you want to be run. So if the situation is true, so I'm creating a date and I'm getting the hours of that date. And I'm finding out if the hours in military time are less than 18. If they are, then you're still in the daytime, right? Because less than 18 would be less than 6 o'clock in the evening. So it's still daytime. So I want to display in our paragraph tag, I want to display the words good day. So let's do a file and we'll do a save, and I will have to run this for the first time. I right click on the lower left hand corner of my screen and the start, and I select File Explorer. And then File Explorer comes up. I go into my JavaScript file and I have to run the file name conditional.html. I double click on it, it runs it. Off to the right, you can see in my web browser session, the words good day come up in a paragraph tag. All right. Now, let's talk about the else. So for the else statement is used to specify a block of code to be executed if the if condition is false. All right, so what we can do in our program, simply hit enter, and we'll add an else statement. Now with else, it's simply else curly brackets or space curly brackets. Hit enter twice. Right under the E in else, you add these closing curly bracket. And then inside the else, I indent what I want to be displayed. So what that's going to be is it's simply going to be checking the time. Well, actually, we don't have to. There's nothing else we have to do. So in our if statement, it's checking the time. And it wants to see if the time is less than 18. If that is false, so the time is, say, 19, so it's 7 o'clock p.m., then it will drop down. The if statement is false, so it drops down to the else. It's whatever else is true. So let's see. So else. So it's not less than 18. So why don't we say 3? I'm going to do I'll do document, get element ID, parentheses, double quotes, demo, quotes, quotes, and parentheses, dot inner, HTML, space equals. I will say good night. Semicolon. All right, so let's run this file. And we'll do a save, and I'll go to my browser session. I'll do a refresh. So it's still a good day, because the time right now is almost 5 o'clock. So it is still, the hour is still less than 18. So one way to test our program out would be to create a function and what we can do is we can create bar, and we're creating a variable named hour. So you use the keyword bar in JavaScript, short for variable, space, and then the variable name, space, and then an equal sign. And I'm going to make this new, space date, parentheses, dot get hours, parentheses, semicolon. Oops. So the variable hours will have whatever the current hours are. Current hour is in the date time. All right, and now I'll hit enter. I will do. Actually, why don't I do a save? I'll do a file save as. And I'm going to change the save as type to all files. And I'm going to call this conditional function. .html. All right, so now I have a new file because I'm going to be creating a function. So I created a variable named hour. Now I'm going to create a greeting variable. So I use bar space greeting equals, and it's going to be, oh, I'm not going to have it equal anything. It's all going to be dependent on the date. So bar greeting semicolon. So when you declare or create a variable, you don't necessarily have to give it a value. So I end it with semicolon. Now my if statement, this will all be within a function. I should have done that first. So remember, when you're creating a function, you use the keyword function space, and then we'll do my, why don't we call it my hour function. Parentheses, not passing any parameters, curly bracket, and then all this information, all these lines of code are going to be indented. I'll indent that, I'll indent that, put this away, indent, indent, indent. These will all be within the function. And I just have to add under the F in function, closing curly bracket to close out the function. All right, so within the function, we have a variable named hour, we have a variable named greeting, and then all we have to do is say if hour so if parenthesis, hour is less than 18, and parenthesis, and then space curly bracket. And then down below we already have a curly bracket for the if statement. So if this is true, I'll indent inside the if, and we'll do, let's see. We'll say, well, then greeting, the variable name greeting is going to equal, double quotes, good day, the string good day, exclamation point, double quotes, and semicolon. All right, now with the else, if the if statement is false, so hour is greater than 18, or equal to or greater than 18, then the else will just simply say greeting equals good night. So all we have to do now is call our function, which we've named myHour function. Yeah. Oh, but we still do have to populate. We still do have to populate our paragraph. By referencing the ID demo, we want to put whatever the greeting is, either good day or good night, into this paragraph up above. And we do that within JavaScript outside of the function, or actually inside the function, sorry. So I will do it here. And this will be the document that get element by ID, parentheses, double quote demo, double quotes, parentheses, dot inner, HTML, equals, and keep it up here. It's going to equal greeting, whatever the value of greeting is, semicolon. Now, what we have to do is we do have to call the function. That's script. And why don't we add a little bit more HTML. Let's do another paragraph tag in the very top. So I'll do an opening P tag with the verbiage click the button to display a time-based greeting. And then I'll do the closing HTML P tag and enter. And so now we'll do a button tag. Right? So I have an opening button tag, and I'll say, when I say try it, and then I'll have a closing button tag. But inside the opening button tag, I'll add a space, and then I'm going to hold the function named myHour function based on a click of the button. So in the opening button tag, you do on click, just like last class when we're handling events. So the event is the clicking of the button, double quotes. So it's my function, or myHour function, double quotes. And that should be about it. All right, so I will run this. I'll save it and it's called conditional function. I will run through File Explorer. And I will do JavaScript, conditional function, double quotes, and on the right you can see the paragraph displays. Click the button to display a time-based greeting. I'll click try it. Now it should say good day because it's only 5 o'clock here during this recording. Try it. And try it didn't work. Let's go back and see. I can close out File Explorer. Let's see what's going on. So button on click equals hour function. Oh, yeah, of course. So it's my hour function, and then I have to have, after the call to the function name, you have to have parenthesis. In this case, I'm not passing any arguments, so it's an open and closed parenthesis. And that's why it's not working. So I'll just do a file save, and I will come over to the right, and I will refresh my page. And now when I click the button that says try it, it should display good day. And that's what it does. Now to test out my program, make sure it's working, what I can do is I can comment out this this line of code that is defining the variable hour and assigning it an hour from the current date. And what I'll do is I'll just say I'll use the JavaScript comment, which is greater than. It should be. Right. And I'll redefine hour by doing var space hour equals, and I'm going to make the hour say 21. Semicolon. See if that works. The file save. I'll refresh the page. Goes away. Perfect. So you see how I use, since I'm within the script tags in my HTML page, this whatever inside the script tags is all JavaScript. So my whole function is written in JavaScript. So when I commented out the declaration of the hour variable, I used // which is the way you comment out in JavaScript. If it had been up above outside of the script tags, say I wanted to comment out this first paragraph tag, I would do greater than sign, exclamation point, dash dash, and dash dash, greater than sign. Comment out that line. So if I do a file, save, refresh the page, that first paragraph that says click the button to display a time-based greeting disappears. All right, so I'm going to take out that comment for now, and I'm going to, since we tested our code out, I'm going to take out this this comment, and I'll comment out the hard-coded hour for the variable named hour of 21 by doing 2 forward slashes to comment out that line. All right, so I'll do a file, I'll save it, and I'll just double check to make sure that everything's running well. So I'll refresh my page, and once again, the first paragraph comes up. If I click try it, it should say good day, and it does. All right, so everything's good. Let's move on to the else if statement. So the else if statement is used to specify a new condition if the first condition is false. And it comes before any else. Else is the very last statement in a conditional because it's everything else. Whatever condition hasn't been hit yet. All right, so I'm going to create a new file. So I'll do a file, save as, and this time I'm going to call it JavaScript, change this to all files, and I'll do conditional else if. Right, so now I have a new file. Okay, let's do something a little bit different. Not different, but right. So I can still use my function and my paragraph tags. All this HTML up here is still going to be valid. And then in my script, my JavaScript code is going to be it's still going to have the var variable named reading. And now let's do instead of hour, let's do time. So I'll create a variable named time. And I've got if time is less than, instead of 18, let's make it 10. And my greeting, instead of good day, how about good morning? Right. Next, next I'm going to add an else if into a conditional statement. So else space if space and then no space. After the if, you have parentheses, and now I need a new condition. So it's going to be time is less than 20, which includes up to 19, which is like 19 is going to be 1, 5, it's going to be 7 p.m., less than 20. So 19 would be 7 p.m. And I'll do an end, parentheses, semicolon, and I'm gonna do a few spaces off to the right, and I'll do a slash comment, which is a comment command for JavaScript, and I'll say this would be 1900 hours, which is going to be let me say up to 7 p.m. And sorry, I forgot. For the else if, it's not a semicolon, it's a space. It's going to be a opening curly bracket. Then a couple lines down, I'll do a closing curly bracket under the E and else if. And then, so now off to the right, I will say slash slash up to 7 p.m. And then inside the else if, greeting is going to equal good day. semicolon. And then we have our else. Instead of good night, we'll say good evening. Evening for everything else. And then for good morning, I'm going to put another comment slash to less than 10 would be 9, up to 9 a.m. So say, today. 10 a.m. Oops. 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. All right, and so we've got an else, we've got an if, else if, and then an else. And it will display a greeting up where the ID equals demo in this paragraph tag, and that should run fine. Save, and I will go into File Explorer to run it. And this is conditional else if. Oops. Unfortunately, it was saved as a text file by accident. What I'll do is I'll do a file, save as, change it to all files, and now I will have conditional else if HTML. Now I can run it through File Explorer, conditional else, double click, and there it is. So I'll click the button, display a time-based reading. I will click. Now it should say good day, right? Good day. So when you're dealing with conditionals, I just hit the else if condition, right? Because my time right now is 5 p.m., which is 1700 hours. So it's not less than 10 in the if statement, and it's definitely less than 20 in the else if statement. So that's why it displayed the reading good day. Now, I can do the same thing to test out my other two conditions, which is time is less than 10 or time is greater than 20, or greater than, equal to or greater than 20. Just by doing, I'll comment out the first declaration of the variable named time, and I will uncomment out the second declaration of the variable. It was hour, now I'll make it time. And let's see, I want to test the first condition, which is when time is less than 10. So I will make 21, I'll make it 8. And I'll save, refresh my web page, click try it, and it says good morning. All right. And now I have one more test to do, and that would be to make the hour, say 24, which is greater than 20, and I'll make it 23. So it's 11 p.m. at night, which should hit the else condition, which displays the greeting of good evening. So I will do a file save, refresh my web page, try hitting the try it button, and it says good evening. So I've tested all three conditions, the if condition, the else if condition, and the else condition. So that's how if, else if, and else all work. So I was, let's see, So the last conditional I want to cover is the switch statement. We use the switch statement to select one of many code blocks to be executed. This is how it works. The switch expression is evaluated once. The value of the expression is compared with the values of each case. If there is a match, the associated block of code is executed. If there is no match, the default code block is executed. So let's give it a try. And let's use the example of the day of the week. Right. So with the day of the week, I've already saved my file from conditional else if HTML to switch.html. And we're going to take out the button and the first paragraph. Don't need those. And we'll just keep the one remaining paragraph, which has an ID of demo. All right. Now, we are going to be doing the conditional based on the day of the week. So we're going to open that up within our script tags, we're going to create a variable named day. So var space day, semicolon. We're not going to give it a value. That'll be assigned later. And now we're not going to have a function. And get rid of all this code. Everything. All right, so once we create the variable named day, we're going to have case space, and we'll make it 0. And then colon. So the format of the switch is, well, first we had to have the switch, sorry. So the keyword is switch, space, and then in parentheses, just like after the keyword if, else if, and else, you follow it with a parenthesis, and then you put the condition inside the parentheses. In this case, we're going to have new date, calling the function date, parenthesis, dot, and then the method get day, parenthesis, passing no arguments, end parenthesis, run the whole thing for the switch, space, and then you have to have curly brackets. And then way down at the bottom, under the S in switch, we'll have a closing curly bracket, so we don't forget. Now, inside the switch, we're going to have case 1, or case 0, and 3. So I'll do the variable day equals Sunday. We'll start with Sunday. Parentheses and a semicolon. Semicolon, oops, hit enter. Then we're going to use the keyword right under the D in day, break, semicolon. All right, and now we are going to have all 7 days of the week. And I'm going to do that by copying and pasting. Copy and paste. Now I have 4. I have 6. One more. Oh no, actually, no more, because the default is the last the last one. Let's say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so we have 7 situations. Let's say case 1, case 0, case 1. And 1 is going to be Monday. 2 going to be Tuesday. 3 Wednesday. 4 Thursday. 5 Friday. 1 more. 6 It's Saturday. All right, so I will get rid of these spaces. All right, so the switch is closed out, as you said, with the closing curly bracket. All right, now outside the script, outside of the switch, inside the script test, we are going to add document.get element by ID, and the ID in this case is demo. So I'll do parentheses, double quotes, demo, parentheses, double quotes, parentheses, dot inner, capital HTML, space equals, and we're going to do double quotes. Today is space, double quotes. So I have the string, and I'll do a plus sign, and then I'll do what the value of the variable named day, which will be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. So I have day, and then finish with semicolon in JavaScript. I remember that. And that should be it. All right. So I happen to be doing this recording on a Sunday, so it should hit in the switch. It should hit case 0. So the day should hit a value of Sunday. And then it'll break out of the switch. That's what the keyword break means. So when I hit this condition, then the variable day will get a value of Sunday, and then we'll hit break, which will push me right out of the switch, and it'll come down here outside of the switch and do document.getElement by ID, calling the ID named demo, .inner HTML, and it'll display today is space Sunday. So let's give it a try. I'll do a file save. I have to run this for the first time, so file explorer. JavaScript. All right, this is called switch. I'll click it, and today is Sunday. What did I say? Told you. Now, normally I would want to test all 7 conditions out. I was able to test today's day of Sunday, which was case 0, but I would want to test the rest of the days. by testing all these cases. So instead of switch having the day equal to Sunday, then I would have it equal another day. Because when you do a get day, it'll pass the value of 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever. So that's it for the switch. So we covered, for conditionals, we covered if, elif, else, and now the switch. So why don't we move on to the for loop before the session ends. So I will do a save as, file, save as, and change this to all files. And I will so with the for loop, the format is it's within your script tags, add your JavaScript, and so you have for space parentheses, and then statement 1, statement semicolon, statement 2, semicolon, statement 3, and parentheses, so end parentheses, and then space, and then open curly bracket, hit enter twice, underneath the F and 4, closing curly bracket, and then you do what you enter what you want done each time the for loop is looped. So let's give it a try. And I will show you what I mean by statement 1, statement 2, statement 3. Okay. Yeah. What we're going to do is get rid of the statements. So it's for space, and then in parentheses, actually above the for loop, we define some things. So we'll do a var text. So I'm creating a variable named text. I'm going to create a variable, and we'll call it message. MSG, short for message. And it's going to equal double quote, meaning I'm giving it a value of blank. And then finish it up with a semicolon. So let's do another variable. This one's going to be var I, semicolon, with no value. Now, inside the for loop, the first statement in the parentheses is going to be I. This is going to be what's executed. Let's say it'll be what is executed one time before the execution of the code block. Okay, so I equals 0. So I'm giving I, the variable I, a value of 0. And then semicolon, space. And then the next thing is, let's see, it's the condition that if as long as it's true, the for loop will continue to run. So I, let's say plus, no, actually I space less than 5, semicolon. And then the third condition is executed. So the second condition defines the condition for executing the code block. And the third condition is executed every time after the code block has been executed. So this one is going to be I plus plus. And what that does is it adds 1 to I, to the value of I, whatever I is. And so the first time through, I has a value of 0. And is I less than 5? Yes. So it will do the loop, whatever we want to execute inside the for loop. And then when that is executed inside the for loop, we will add 1 to I. So now the second time you loop, I will have a value of 1. And is 1 less than 5? Yes. So it will still loop, executes what's inside the loop, and then it'll add another 1 to I. Now I equals 2. If you didn't have this third statement, you'd be in an infinite loop in this situation, because I would always have a value of 0, and 0 would always be less than 5. So this condition would be true, and I would constantly be doing a for loop. So let's do something inside the for loop. Let's see. So why don't we do some, we'll give the message. We're going to make MSG, a variable named MSG, and we're going to have plus equal, right? So this will equal the message, the number is space double quotes. So that it's going to have, the message will have that string, and then for concatenation we use the plus sign, plus whatever the value of I is, space plus, and then we're going to do a BR tag, which is a line break. Okay? And finish it up with semicolon. All right. Hit enter. Actually, you don't need a space there. So that's our for loop. We created 2 variables, one named message with a value of blank, and then one variable named I, which is going to be used in the statements of the for loop. And then we will have the message is going to equal the number is plus the value, number is whatever the value of I is, and then it'll do a line break. Every time it loops, it's going to print that. And it should loop, let's say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It'll loop 5 times. As long as I is less than 5, it'll loop. So first time I would be 0, second time I will be 1, third time I will be 2, fourth time I will be 3, and fifth time I will be 4. The sixth time I would equal 5, and 5 is not less than 5, so it'll stop looping and it'll just drop out of the loop. All right, so now inside our script tags, we have to do our document get element get element by ID parentheses, and we're still using the demo ID in the paragraph up above. That inner HTML equals, and what's it going to equal? Let's say it's going to equal message, right? We want to display the message. So MSG and finish with a semicolon. And that should be it. I'll do a save. I'll run this first time, file the score. JavaScript, and I just have to find my file, which is called for loop. There it is. I double click it, and there it is. If you look off to the right, in my web browser session, it printed the message after the for loop was all done. And it printed number 0, the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. And using the BR tag, it printed out the first line, then did a line break, second line break, etc. So that's how you do a for loop. And it really is handy. Instead of writing multiple lines of code, you can just use a simple for loop to loop through those lines, and it makes your code a lot more readable, a lot neater, saves you a lot of time, and you just have to understand the 3 statements that are used within the for loop. The first statement being, once again, the first statement being executed only one time before the for loop starts. The second statement is the actual condition that the for loop will run as long as that condition is true. And the last statement is incrementing the variable that you're using, so that you don't fall into an infinite loop that will never end. So that's about it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed these 3 sessions of learning JavaScript, and you've been able to understand how HTML and CSS and then finally JavaScript all come together to create dynamic web pages. Once again, this has been Learning JavaScript, offered to you by the Clifton Park Half Moon Library. My name is Scott Bartow, and I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Thanks a lot.